actually it was remarked that NOACA was going to be 40 years old, and I was involved in one way or another for those 40 years, Howard, so it's a long time, but NOACA's come a long way, the region's come a long way, and I think it's come a long way in a positive way. And the title of the talk I was thinking about is water, what's the big deal? And I think that it's a question we need to ask ourselves regularly. Basically, it's a big deal because it's of its public health importance, which we sometimes forget in the environmental movement. And the British Medical Journal did a survey of a number of professionals and medical people, and really determined that drinking water treatment was the greatest medical breakthrough since 1840. And they considered all the other wonder drugs and everything else, but in terms of the advancement of the medical profession, they voted that as their leading item. And the global impact really is that we don't think about the value of water when we talk about changes in the world and changes about world health issues, be they global warming, be they AIDS, be they whatever they be. But actually, think about 2.6 billion people don't even have a basic latrine, a pit in the ground to dispose of their wastewater. And 1 billion people, 1/6 of the world's population, they don't even have drinking water. So I mean, so if you think about people worrying about drinking water, they have no time to go to any higher level of realization or economic realization. And I think the World Health Organization really looks at this as the major economic and public health and environmental impact, because as people have more time, they can pursue, they don't have to maybe clear so much land, and they have a water supply. They don't have to spend their time going for water or fighting illness. They can begin to develop some type of an economic base. So what does all this mean to us? Well, lo and behold, we sit here with 20% of the world's fresh water on our front door, and major, major asset. And certainly wars have been fought in the past over water, and most likely may be fought in the future about water. When you think about the world developing, you think about China taking heavily polluted water, spending billions of dollars to move it to the north because they don't have water, and it's still heavily polluted when they get it there because they don't treat a lot of their waste. Now the answer we always get, yeah, but it is so expensive. Oh my gosh, why is water so expensive? Well, or is it? And I think you think about it, and actually our deputy director, Mike Bucci, who was a finance guy, popped this number out one day, and I never thought about it that way. But if you think about getting water from Lake Erie, running it through the Cleveland water treatment plants, distributing it to people's houses, picking it back up, taking it through our treatment plants, and putting it back in Lake Erie at the same or better quality, is 1 cent per gallon. So you got to compare that with gasoline, with all the other things we do. And the really interesting thing to think about, based upon thinking about what Mayor Jackson said, bringing more people into Cleveland, 100,000 more people. Well, the city of Cleveland has an infrastructure for roughly 1 million people. There's 400,000 people live in the city of Cleveland now. All those pipes are there, those water treatments are there, the sewers are there. And look at first ring suburbs. There is infrastructure in this county now to support the kind of population that Mayor Jackson was thinking about, because it was here before. And the question is, do we always value this asset? And I think for the old-timers that, and there's fewer of us old-timers, Howard, we actually didn't think about that. What talk about Cleveland and the environment would be complete without the burning river? And I don't mean the beer that they sell now. Isn't it interesting how that's become a commercial venture? And the Cog River burned in 1969, and we had all the hellacious, Lake Erie was dead, and it basically, streams looked like that. There was thousands, literally thousands of these individual, and some of you in the outlying counties still have them, but these package treatment plants were replete. I mean, there were just thousands of them in front yards of buildings and in urban areas all down Route 21 and Independence. Each little building there had a treatment plant. in the Cuyahoga Valley, so building had a little treatment plant, most of which did not work, would never work given their application. There probably were better than 10,000 home systems. There are probably still a lot of home systems, but you think about in communities like Valley View, Independence, parts of Brecksville, Westlake, I mean, they didn't have sewers. They became urbanized on individual home sewage treatment systems in many ways. So it was a difficult time, and I think, I still remember you'd go to meetings, and if anybody had a stream in their backyard, they wanted it culverted. They wanted to either put their garage on it or plant tomatoes on it, but they wanted rid of this nuisance. And some people even thought since it flooded, if they squished it in the ground, it wouldn't come out and they wouldn't flood anymore. So it's amazing. Now we're daylighting streams. And it was tough times. I think you can think about just a few, we dug out a few of these headlines from the late 60s, early 70s in terms of the mood of the time. And it links back, and it just worked out beautiful. Mayor Jackson didn't tell me what he was going to say, but he talked about how change comes about in bad times, because who wants to change when you're in good times? Well, these were bad times. These were not good times, basically. And there were building bans on the county and building bans on the suburbs and bad publicity, and the lake was dead and the river was dead, and essentially all these things really ended up in court, as unfortunately many of our problems do. It was pretty clear that it was time for change. The public had had enough. It was a big political issue. It was pretty clear the solution had to be regional. And there were incentives and disincentives. Obviously, having a building ban on half the county is a disincentive. And people were beginning to talk about federal funding. This was 1970, 71, 72. There was a lot of talk in Congress about clean water, about funding for clean water. So it was time for change. What motivates change? Well, I think the discussions in change are always about money. Who pays? Who gets to spend it? Who does it get spent with? I mean, those are all issues. It's about jobs. Who hires the people? Who hires the people that work at the agency? What people get jobs? What people lose jobs? Fairness. And we talk also about equity. Are we all getting treated properly? Where's our money going? Is somebody getting more than us? And that gets back to winners and losers. I think when you, at any given time in history, when you look at a regional approach to something, people say, well, yeah, I'm going to get more, so I'm in. But somebody says, I got more, so I'm not in. So these things have to be looked at in a much longer time frame, because I think history shows if you pick a street and drive out from Cleveland, you see winners become losers as change happens, as commercial areas begin to dry up, as the communities that had a lot of economic vitality now have a lot of vacant stores. So particularly in our out-migration environment, we wait long enough, we all become losers if we don't get a handle on it.